Alright, I'm going to make sure I get a couple things set up real quick. So here is a little sheet I made for people. And I'll post that in the Discord chat for you. There you go. Alrighty, so I'll give since we got a lot of people here, I'll kind of do a quick review of some stuff we did last week before I really get into the main things. So lastly, we were building off of the Asaro head stuff we did. Let's see if I still have the file here. Here it is. Get rid of the stuff on top here. Alright, so this is what we did last week. We were covering the skull. And I hope that you were able to get at least some skull drawing in throughout the week. Hopefully you got your 5-post turnaround ready to go. I actually did it during the class, so my homework is done. These are some draw-overs, of course, but these were ones that I did freehand. And that's the goal. That's the goal that we're going to have with what we're doing today. I want you to try to build off what we did last week and apply it to this guy. And then I want you to take the basic planes of that head and test them out on stuff like these Alex Ross heads that I was doing earlier, and photographs like Linus here. To the left is me attempting to do a freehand, and to the right is me doing a draw over, like so. So the goal this week will be to put in a lot of mileage of this stuff. Basically, planar heads things. If you notice, this uses some of the stuff that we went over in the skull last week. It's a lot simpler, but now you have a little bit of a better sense of how the skull works under there. Like we can even put a skull under this if we wanted to. I'll bring this out over here. I'm just going to do a quickie. Get some of that 2-cylinder in there. But like all of this stuff connects together, and you'll be practicing it in different phases and so on. You'll go back and you'll bounce between different phases and stuff. Like you don't have to draw a whole skull in order to draw a face, but understanding the skull helps you draw the face. About here-ish. Zygomatic arch in. There you go. Like, if you want to, you can even try this a little bit. Like, kind of use your observation from last week to sort of carve a skull out of the planes that we're working on. This is kind of off a bit, but I won't correct that any further. This is just an example. Let's lower the opacity on that. So yeah, one of the first steps to understanding the planes, the main thing you're gonna be using right here is the Sketchfab model of the simplified Asaro head. Now the simplified Asaro head is actually from the John Asaro website. It's the memorized head here, which is available for, let's see here. The physical version of it is available for $65. And this one, which we're going to be learning in about like 2 weeks or so, is the main head honcho Asaro head. And that one we're going to be studying from in a couple weeks. It's a lot more complex, as you can see, but by that point we'll have some good mileage under our belt with a more simple version of that, and some other things that we're going to be studying. So the goal right now will be to just keep drilling these and memorizing it so that it gets into our bloodstreams and stuff. If you notice, all of these start with Loomis heads. Like, here, let me get a visible color. The Loomis heads that we've been doing and drilling on since the first class here, and continually. Like, the skulls we did last week started with the Loomis heads, and these also begin with a Loomis head. This one's a little tricky because the Sketchfab model that I used, it gets weird angles and stuff when it's kind of close up. You have to kind of work around that a bit. Usually you can kind of like look at the top of the ear and the angle of the brow line to kind of judge a bit. If you notice, the perspective on this is a little weird. See, like, it's going to a vanishing point out over here. Just be aware of that on this photograph I took. Or on this screenshot of the Sketchfab model I took. Like, it is going in perspective there. That also means it's going in perspective over here too. So just be aware of that. You can defeat that a little bit. Here, I'll copy paste the Sketchfab model into chat. Discord chat. Somebody asked if this is a digital or paper or pencil. My answer to that is yes. Literally any materials you can use for this. I would hope that a lot of people do traditional for this, actually, but I mean, whatever materials you have available. In the future, I want to figure out some kind of a way to do traditional demos, maybe with a downshoot camera or something. But yeah, this is what it is. But anyway, like, as you can see, this starts with a basic, like I was trying to say, this basically starts with a Loomis head. You can use all the same tricks, like to find the brow, that little diagonal line that I showed you. Find the top of the head, the center line down the front, kind of like that. And because it's warping, it'd be more like this. Use the back of the head, find the angle of the jaw, just like with the regular Loomis head. But then there's complex forms involved here with this, and maybe I should turn this off so it doesn't get confusing. So So let's take another crack at this with red. Anyway, what I wanted to show you, if you want to defeat that annoying perspective thing on the Sketchfab model, what you do is you zoom out like that. Like this. I was able to get it to maybe like, probably here would probably work. Let me try. There we go. That looks a little flatter. It's going to be kind of pixelated, but that's okay because if you can see the lines, that's all you need, like the basic lines. Another problem with this is that the lighting makes the planes a little unclear when you turn it, so be aware of that. I think there's another version of this with different lighting also. Let me zoom out. Yeah, there's the head that we're going to be learning in about 2 weeks. There's a couple crummy versions of this there. Remember that was the cheat sheet for the skull we used last week. Here is the other simple Asaro. So you might want to try this one too if the other one is giving you lighting trouble. This one looks a little chunky, but it should work. This one looks like it might be actually a 3D scan of an existing one. Yeah, this one it's hard to make out the line that's going here. It's a little easier to make out the lines here that are going around there. But anyway. Alright, continue with the demonstration here. So for this thing, you go through the same procedure that you would for an Asaro head. You might want to do it light, so you can get the other details that you're going to be adding to it. Oops. Yeah, you can get the side plane in here with the circle, that crisscross that's happening over the circle. You can find your brow line like that, or the hairline. Brow line's here, and then you can use that. This is kind of going in perspective, so the rule of thirds is going to be kind of weird. It's going to be kind of like this, like that. It's like rule of thirds in perspective, you see. But it's the same thing. You measure out the face. 1, 2, 3. The same way you would on a regular Asaro head. And then you start working in. I usually like to start maybe about with this kind of like stone, like this kind of like a bridge arch anchor right here. Let's maybe do this a different color. And then for the nose, you kind of want to maybe handle it and kind of, you can curve these or you can handle them straight. But you want to handle like, you don't necessarily strictly want to completely follow the Sketchfab model, but you want to get like simple polygonal shapes out of it. So that's how I chose to build that. I actually went a little bit too far ahead in the nose here. What I should be doing is this, which is the base of the eye there. That's actually not the eye line. The eye line would probably be about here. A little bit lower than halfway through the eye socket. And then we have the brow line going over here, so we can use that to kind of measure off the angles if we were doing this freehand of the sides of the brow. So this part right here extends out a little bit further than the Illumis circle here, but it continues up over there, and then it goes back over and under, back into the circle like that. But then there's this little kind of point right here where the two intersect a bit, and you drop down a line like this, and connect those 2 points there, and then from that little dot that I'm making here on this line, you go over to the rhythm of the ear, about here, a little bit under the ear line, kind of. Actually, I think it's about here. So I messed up a little bit. It's about here-ish. What we're doing is we're measuring the corner of the cheek here. Actually, kind of messed up this whole area here. Let's try that again. So over here, drop that down. That. And then you have this little intersecting point right here. Where like these three lines right here intersect. Let me just color code this part real quick. I'll be able to describe what that is a little bit better on some of the other angles of the head, but you can kind of see a little bit of it, what's going on there. It's like this weird little kind of plane here, sort of. Let's actually put that in there. Yeah, anyway, from there, there's a point here which is not visible because of the lighting, but it's about here, where there's a polygonal point right there, where the line here changes angle and goes into the mouth. It actually curves a little bit too. While we're at it, let's get the rest of the jaw and this kind of stuff on the side of the head in. Let's get the exterior of the head in right now. A little bit of the C curve of the neck here. We're not going to be worried about neck anatomy. We just need a C curve for the neck right now. Okay, so now that we have the brow line here, you can find this little point there. you notice, it's very faint, but we're looking for that line there. And about somewhere there is where the line is there. It connects up to about here. So like the front of the head is going to be this kind of like planar thing. Like this triple plane. So that goes over there. And then we'll actually just make that one continuous line there for this angle. Even though there is a little bit of the brow there, kind of, that sticks out from there, you see. But it's so small that we can just kind of smooth that out from this angle. So, using a little bit of reals of perspective here, we can kind of visualize where the cheekbone is over there. So we're not going to see that little red thing I did, because that's facing away from us. But we are going to get a little bit of this, a little bit of the side of the cheek. That's this part coming down here. Something like that. It's really tricky when the lines are that tight together. So from here I go from the bottom of the nose, these two corners right here. Make this little wedge that is above the top of the lip. Make a little line right here. For like kind of the archstone of the lips. You don't have to worry too much about making the lips perfect, but just know that like generally the you can see it on the profile. The top of the lip you're going to be looking up at usually, and the bottom of the lip you're going to be seeing down at usually. And then that same shape of your lips is actually mimicked in your chin area there. So like when you draw it in a planar way like this, it often winds up looking like a person has two sets of lips. So following a little bit from the skulls we were doing last week, there's a bit of a simplification that happens in what happens with the side of the jaw in this. You see, some of the skulls we did were like really simplified, but basically what's happening under there is kind of what is happening with that side of the jaw pushing out with that bit of bone on the edge of the jaw there. And the fleshy part of the face is kind of changing angle a little bit. I actually believe I messed up this part. That shouldn't be there actually. That belongs down there. It's right there on the plane. Yeah, that's pretty much a draw over of this guy. Does anybody have any questions? Rule thirds. You follow the rule thirds to measure out the face. Mind you, like these examples I gave to you are a little bit warped in perspective. I took that into account when I did this thing here. But you can as long as you know what the perspective is doing on something like this, it's going out to a vanishing point about here-ish. I'm not too worried about making the perspective 100% accurate, just as long as it's kind of in the ballpark for the purposes of understanding this thing. But yeah, but as long as you use the rule thirds, like here's a, wait, 1 sec. There's 1/3 there. There's 1/3 about there. 1/3 about there. This isn't perfect because it kind of messed up the perspective a little bit, but it's in the ballpark enough. But anyway, what was the question? Sorry. Well, I didn't really mean to put the perspective in. That just happened because of the screenshot that I took. But you are going to want to learn how to how a head works in perspective, because, well, I mean, that's how they work in real life, more or less, or how they appear in real life in a 3D space. But in terms of understanding the planes of the head, I mean, that should be self-apparent. When you understand how the head is a simplified 3D object, you could take if you make something like this memorized and intuitive, you will be able to spin around a 3D model of a head inside your own head that you've memorized, and then draw heads from any angle. Like, I want people to, and myself included, I want people here and myself to try to get to the point where we can draw a simplified planar model like this without looking at reference. That's easier said than done, though. That's going to take a lot of repetition and drilling, and that's why I'm going to be having some extra figure workshops throughout this week, focused on heads specifically for people that want to work on memorizing this. I'm kind of jumping ahead on this guy, but I mean, it's the same kind of thing here. You start with a Loomis head for the straight on. You get kind of your side circles established a bit. Of course, you're not chopping the sides off. Remember last week with the skull? We're not chopping the sides off these, per se. It's just because of how this particular model is, and for other stuff we might chop the sides off. But this guy works a little bit how the skulls do, so. Andrew Loomis and John Massaro are the two artists that I'm referring to. John Massaro is the one who made this head that this model is based on, and it's an artist reference tool. for understanding the planes of the face. Andrew Loomis is a draftsman from the early 20th century, is a draftsman and illustrator and an art teacher from the early 20th century who has a bunch of public domain figure drawing books, which you should be able to find with a Google search. If anyone can link them in chat, I'd really appreciate it. But Andrew Loomis's Loomis heads are basically this that I'm drawing right now. You start with a sphere, and you carve a half off the side of the sphere. Like you slice it off. You slice off a piece, kind of like that, on either side of it. So you end up with something like this. And you're able to use that to establish a head. We covered this mainly and during our first figure drawing workshop. If you want to see that and review that, the video for that is on my YouTube, which you can find the link to in my Discord profile. But I will go over the Loomis heads because what we're doing here, we'll go over the Loomis heads a little bit more because what we're doing here is built off the Loomis head. So for the newcomers here, I'll be sure to show a little more off the Loomis head. So we're going to make sure we get this on a profile one, and then we're going to start practicing on top of photos and master artists. So ideally, like, you want to practice like turnarounds of this throughout this week, and you want to apply it to life model figures that you're seeing. Like, I'd probably like for a figure class, I'd probably give about 5 to 10 minutes, or even 15 minutes to do do these for like a still head portrait. Make sure everyone gets it and gets enough time to really measure it out and stuff. And then when people start getting more used to them, we can do kind of like quickly memorize quick sketch using these planes. And you wouldn't necessarily even on a quick sketch version of exercise for this, you wouldn't necessarily have to draw all the planes, just enough of them to practice them a bit. Erase those. So these are probably going to be used by people here as guides of what to look for in these things. So I'm going to try to be somewhat clear with them. These things, my drawovers here are going to be fairly imperfect, but you can kind of use them as a starting point. Try to defer to simplicity in 3D shapes when you're doing these. And remember the Loomis head underlying it. Like, you can see it right here. Like, there's the halfway point of the brow right there. Let's see. I think that's far along in that one. Far enough along. So let's move on to this guy. Oh, also, before I move on, I wanted to thank folks for the support they gave me this last week. I actually have made my first stretch goal, or well, not stretch goal, but like funding goal for the backup hard drive that I've been saving up for, so I can back up my work. I'm going to either pick out one of those, or I'm going to start with a cloud service where I can upload my data, so I won't lose everything. I won't lose all my art or all my art demos if I get like a hard drive failure or whatever. yeah, I do these classes for free, but tips are always appreciated, and I'll just link that. And I'll link my tip jar in classroom chat, and actually don't have a Twitch chat page open, but here. Let's open that up real quick. I should be in creator mode right now. There we go. Subs are also appreciated if you have a spare Twitch Prime sub, or want to do a gift sub for other people or whatever. Whoops. But yeah, anyway, getting back to it. We're going to do the profile now. So actually, believe it or not, the hardest of the three of these to do, one sec. Uh-oh. Oh, it's on the wrong file, that's why. Okay. Believe it or not, the hardest of these three angles to do is the straight on. The reason for that is the straight on it has to be symmetrical, more or less, and symmetry will kick your ass when you're doing it freehand. So just be aware of that. I'll show you actually. It kicked my ass slightly earlier. This Linus Tech Tips head, I made a few errors. I made the mouth and chin too low, but I raised that up. There was some slight issues on one side of it, which I copy pasted with a color coded layer to check. I got pretty close, but like little things can kind of throw off the symmetry of something. And also, like, he's not looking perfectly straight on either, too, so that could kind of throw things off a bit, but I got pretty close in the ballpark. This feels a little bit flat because I still need to kind of wrap my head around these forms, but that's why we're doing this. So let's get rid of that. Whoops. All right. Oh shoot, I think it was in streamer mode, so I don't think it may have actually linked my Twitch chat. But anyway, it looks like it's all taken care of now. Alright, so let's get back to profiles. So, start with finding where the Loomis sphere is. It's about here-ish. Yeah, I gotta move something real quick so I can look at my cheat sheet. Alright. I'm kind of jumping ahead with that. So I'm gonna try to maybe find about where the sphere is using the ear. Or well, where the circle inside here is using the ear. A little bit weird. Something like this, I want to say. Kind of a weird angle on this one. Perspective warping is throwing it off very slightly. But that's pretty close. Alright, so let's simplify that a little bit. Kind of struggling to find where the circle was here. Oops. Okay, so gray line about there, gray line about there. I'm going to just modify it as I go. Let me reduce the opacity a bit just so I can see what I'm trying to add to this. Get kind of the top plane of the head going on here. Hairline about there. The corner of the eye there. Whoops. No, that is not that. That is this. So that means this is that. Right. So that means that is that. Like that. So I'm going with like a slight curve to the front of the nose, but you could use a straight line here. Even a straight line for the rest of the nose there. There is something that happens here though, but it's not really apparent from this angle. We'll just simplify it here for now, but there's a side plane of the nostril that's more apparent on a better photo. That would be more apparent on a better photograph versions of this. There, it's cool. Now you can kind of feel like you can kind of see where the rhythms sort of play off each other here. Like that curve coming from that point right there of the cheek. And there's that shape over there that we saw earlier. Except it's much wider over here. Some of that in there. Side plane of the head a bit more, and now we're going to go and finish off the chin here, the chin and the jaw. So going off the back of the head, we can get like kind of a general guideline for the angle of the jaw. Then we just use reference from the figure head actually modify this a little bit. I see a very faint line here. That's where the ear is coming out of. The base of the ear. I'm just going to include the ear up through here. I'm not too worried about like getting too detailed with the ear, but I want to include enough of it to imply that it's a dimensional object, so I'm going to do this. I kind of curl up over here to make like the outer edge of the ear kind of a tube on the top. And let's include some lines here. I will get more into ear construction in the future when we get into like more features and stuff. So you can leave that really simple if you want, just like whatever, as long as it's in right, as long as it's in more or less in the right spot. It does have dimension though, so it might be good to kind of include a bit more of that, sort of like this, and you just kind of wrap some lines over. Maybe bulge that. And from the front, you can do something like this. Or that kind of is in front of this. And then we'll just get some C curves in for straight right there. Some C curves in for the neck, and that's pretty much a profile study. Alright, so our next step, so we're going to be looking at master artists and photographs and doing drawovers of them trying to basically repeat this. I will copy paste this in chat so that you guys can have this for reference. Does anyone have any questions, though? Neck placement. Don't worry about it. Just trace for now. And you trace or eyeball it for now. We'll get more into neck anatomy as we go. But, well, I can show you a little bit. Here, give me a second. Well, neck placement, but not neck anatomy. Neck placement actually would be important, come to think of it. Alright, so I'll try to do like a quick kind of demo of neck placement, I guess. So maybe lower the opacity on this. So basically like, well, let's start with like a Loomis head thing right here. 1 second. You can use the Loomis head to kind of determine your neck placement. You need a really visible. Let's say you got yourself a Loomis head, kind of like this. Well, for the neck, you want to like, here look. So you cut halfway across. Measure it this way. So if you think of the head as like the head sphere as being like a half and a half, somewhere about like half of this ish, I want to say, or maybe like I think about like the bottom third of this. Is where the bottom of the skull is. Like so. And literally all you do is, at least in profile, is you know, once you know where that is, you just kind of follow a curve along about where the neck inserts. Like that's the bottom of the back of the skull, just about. Right there. And then on the front of the face, you can actually see it spelled out right here for you. You got kind of, on a basic, like, generic planar head, you got kind of a straight going on here under the jaw. And then it C-curves down about here. And as long as the head's straight, like, it's kind of straight on like this, you can sort of measure a general guideline about where it's dropping to, like where it would connect up at the front of the collarbone a little bit. But we're not too worried about neck anatomy. Like, you can get really simple with this for now. Like, just as long as like there's an indication of it there that kind of feels right to your reference. Like this, something like that would work for now. Like, so long as you're adding like the C curve that you need to a Loomis head, it should be fine. But I mean, like, if you're using your power of observation to kind of work out the neck and make a C curve that's really kind of a little bit more plausibly placed, then do that. But that's generally how it works. I mean, as a generic guideline for the neck, the place in the neck, that will get you in the ballpark. Just make sure this gets. What happened here? Those are not supposed to be that low in opacity. Yeah. There we go. That's good enough. Alright. You notice I'm not doing the demos of these because that would be a little redundant for what we're trying to do. But you can do these, by the way. I'm not too terribly worried about people doing a full 5-head turnaround this week. But you should do at least these 3 and repeat them to try to get them. If you want to do the other 2, you can, but we're probably going to repeat the subject again next week because of just how challenging this subject is. So you'll have time to get a full 5-head pose turnaround of the planar head in. Alright, so getting on to master artists. Earlier today I was studying some Alex Ross stuff and doing this. So Alex Ross has a lot of excellent head sheets like this that he made as reference for himself for comics and illustrations he's done. He works out different lighting angles and different angles on the heads that he designs for his characters. Like this Superman he did here. And he has a really strong sense of clarity to what he does. So he's someone who's excellent to study from for this sort of thing. Ooh, there's Two-Face. A little tiny image though. But you can find plenty of good Alex Ross stuff if you Google image search for it a bunch. I think that's Cyborg Superman, isn't it? Or no, that's it's a different villain. It is a Superman villain. It's a guy who's a cyborg who's powered by kryptonite. Metallo. There he is. That's cool. Well, there's some good head drawings on these. I just don't think they're the right resolution. We did some more simplified heads of Aquaman and stuff. Well, and he's also done some kind of animated series and old school comic book style heads. Batman, you actually could do studies from, except you'd have a little bit harder time finding where the ear is. I mean, you can kind of figure it out. Maybe use like the base of the bat ears to kind of plot a little bit. I mean, you could find where the top of the ear is from the eye line. That's a pretty good sheet. I might use that. Really nice sheet here for sure. Yeah, he's got lovely head turn pages like this. Yeah, he works through he solves these problems before he does his illustrations or his comics. Yeah.
Do you recommend a way to practice these head planes? Would be to do the 45 turnaround of the head, then repeat.
I don't necessarily. Well, I mean, you can try the back and the back 3/4 and the back one if you want. But the main way we're going to be practicing this is you want to do those three poses: the front, the profile, and the 3/4. And you want to.
Since the dog really doesn't have like planes to practice.
No, it doesn't. That's why I'm not worried about practicing that, because it's not really. It's kind of too vague to really use. But the Asaro head though, which we are going to be doing in like a few weeks, does have clear back planes to the head, and that one would be good. In fact, you can maybe even just use the Asaro head for your back plane versions of this. This is the simple.
Actually, just by seeing this, I kind of now see all the planes just looking at that Superman.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. I'm trying to teach people to see where the planes are. I want people to, when they look at a human face, be kind of visualizing almost automatically visualizing a 3D model. But you see, like, look at this. After we've just gone over those things, aren't you kind of seeing where those simplified planes that I've been drawing sort of work with the Asaro head here? And also, like, see what I'm talking about? Like, the back of the Asaro head is worth practicing from, because those are really clear. But the simple one, not so much. Simple one, the planes aren't very clear on that one. Let me actually check real quick. I think that I want to check what his simple head looks like on his website from the back. If we can get I think it's smooth in the back. Yeah. Yeah, you can buy physical sculpts of them. The original Asaro head is $115. Strongly recommended, by the way. I used one when I was in art school, and I want to buy one. I probably will in the future if I can budget for that. Django's tip jar expectantly. But if I do get one of those, I would definitely photograph it from a lot of different angles for our classes and stuff.
And there are like Asaro bodies or something like that, because I see.
Yeah, there's a couple here. Yeah, there's other figures kind of like this that you can get too from other companies, and some anatomical reference ones that are really good. Like in the future, when I'm able to get more income, that's the kind of stuff I want to invest in, like anatomy figure reference. Let's dip into that real quick, because this is some nice fun stuff to aspire to grab. Fortunately, there are 3D models that you can get, which are pretty useful, that you could use as reference and study tools, but having a physical model to study from.
Yeah, I think that's actually very cool, and you can use it like a decoration even if you want. Like it looks pretty cool. Just like
yeah. Yeah, a lot of artists will have. A lot of artists I've seen have like big collections of these, and I eventually want to start building a collection of these. Having them like by your desk to look at and help you solve problems and stuff is a huge help for sure. So there's character design references that seems to... I can't speak to how good or bad their figurines are, but they do have a site that seems pretty promising. I've seen their things before. Oop, there's boobies. Sorry. There's an adaptable male figure. That's interesting, where you can pull off pieces of it. Male and female planar busts. These ones are kind of like a hyper Asaros. I can't speak to how good or bad these are compared to the Asaro, though. This one is kind of like... So this is kind of like a superhero comic book version of the Asaro head. And you can tell that it was inspired by the Asaro head because, like, you can see the different styles of the face planes on either side. Why does it look that way? Because on one side it's supposed to be more masculine, the other side is more feminine. One side's more polygonal, one side is more detailed and curved, detailed, especially like in the eye. It's supposed to like give you a lot of different. It's supposed to give you like the opportunity to try simplifying and simplified planes and more complex planes. You know, kind of all in one tool. Yeah, there's another site in particular that I'm going to try to see if I can find. And there's a few of these, but one in particular that has been used a lot. Let's see, anatomy artist.
Could you post a link to these sites in the chat?
Sure. There's the character design references thing. I can't speak to how good or bad their stuff is, but here is the page where I found that on. There's one in particular I'm looking for that's an anatomy model reference, which I recommend, that I've used before, that I'm trying to find. I'll recognize it when I see it in this Google image search I'm sorting through.
Thank you, though.
Yeah. Here we go. Sorry about this little detour here. Yeah, I'll look for it later, but it's a really good figure, the one that I'm thinking of. We won't worry about it right now, though. So, what we will worry about is Batman. And I think we already got that one. Looks like there's some corrections here that someone made on that. We could use Wonder Woman, except her hair is kind of covering up where her ear is. Still might be worth doing, though.
Why not Green Lantern?
Oh, did you see Green Lantern in these?
No, I just did that because of her business.
I mean, if I see him... Oh, look at that. Alex Ross did just a generic figure study.
I actually didn't knew Alex Ross. Now I'm seeing the stuff.
Yeah. He's a kind of like a we almost want to say like the Norman Rockwell of superheroes. Whoops, that's not getting into some other things here. Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic, and he does it all traditionally too. It's all watercolor. Like, this is just his drawings. His paintings are fantastic. Let's take a look at it, actually. Alex Ross painting.
They are not just realistic. It's like they are so solid. They have a great...
Yeah. And he was used as a point of reference for a lot of the Marvel and DC superhero movies too.
Look at that! Oh my God! Look at that!
Yeah.
Especially like illumination, colors.
These are.
There's a reason why there's an Alex Ross museum at every single Comic Con.
Yeah. He's also really, really nice too. Like, if you actually do get to meet him, he's really like approachable and personable to young artists and students and stuff.
Do you think
No, this
he just sees
I think that's not the final piece, I don't think. But this is his tribute to J.C. Leyendecker right here. But yeah, he's tributing a famous illustration by J.C. Leyendecker, who we've gone over here before. So we can find it. It's from this series that this is a part of. There it is. Right there. It's on the cover to this collected works book. But J.C. Leyendecker is somebody else who we will probably be using for study fodder tonight. I'll hold on to that too. What's great about J.C. Leyendecker is his simplified the simplification of his painting style makes it really easy to tell the angles of things. Like it's pretty, you can kind of like feel out where the planes are in this pretty easily. So I strongly recommend J.C. Leyendecker as someone to study from. Not just the planes on the face, but you can see look at that. There's the top plane right there of that piece of clothing. You can tell like the side plane of this finger, the bottom plane of this finger, the plane of that thumb, another plane change of that thumb. And it's also loose and sketchy, so there's like kind of the ambiguity and stuff that isn't quite accurate that's going on here too. But it's still like the big stuff works.
It has a very polygonal feeling.
Yeah.
Like he uses the illumination to work with
Yeah, and of course, like there's a lot of game designers that have there's a lot of games that have taken inspiration from J.C. Leyendecker. Whoops, damn it! I hate it when it like gathers my windows when I move across the screen. Why does it do that all the time? It's really annoying. Let's get that. Get that. Oh, there we go.
I can explain that to these guys. So if you grab like metal bar or anything and you shake it around, it automatically minimize it. It's like a shortcut.
Yeah, I just did that now. Oh, that's annoying. I want to turn that off because that's really irritating, and I keep doing that by accident when I'm moving stuff across.
Was headplane something we talked about last few weeks ago?
Yeah. Well, no. We touched a little bit on it in the course of the skull drawing stuff, but the skull drawing was mostly observation stuff. There was some of that going on there. But anyway, so one of the games that actually uses J.C. Leyendecker as a point of reference is, of course, Team Fortress 2. Like the shading style that the game has is modeled after J.C. Leyendecker art, and some of the exaggerations, like it's more cartoony than I say even J.C. Leyendecker, but there is a little bit of kind of the exaggerations that he uses a bit. Let's see here, Team Fortress 2 Leyendecker. It's more apparent in the concept art.
the place icon.
Oh, here we go.
I was
This is I think this is one that's supposed to be an actual tribute to J.C. Leyendecker. Wait, no, that is that is an actual J.C. Leyendecker piece. Here's a tribute to J.C. Leyendecker someone did. I think that might have been official art.
Those drawings are from
Whoops,
like
damn
that
it.
style comes from
I don't know. That looks very World War II. Well, yeah, that's a World War I soldier, I think. But yeah, here's some of the concept art for Team Fortress 2 when they were developing it. One of the earlier drawings of the medic, and you can see that the artist was going for a very J.C. Leyendecker approach. Yeah. And Team Fortress 2 is hardly the only game that's used J.C. Linedecker as a point of reference. So anyway, maybe let's grab this guy. That's a good head, a nice angle. So you can grab any head you want for doing these. I'm only interested in the head. I mean, I love that hand. Look at that hand. Those nice hands. It's almost a shame that we're gonna have to just slice this head out.
We can use the same, like the same essence of this method to like draw other things like plants and stuff.
Well, this is to understand. You're not gonna like, yeah, I wouldn't want you to like steal a J.C. Linedecker hand and put it in your drawing or something. You want to use your own skill in construction, but you can use this to understand how this stuff works. Although I think you probably could legally steal from J.C. Linedecker all you want, because I think he's in public domain now, so. But don't get in the habit of plagiarizing work, get in the habit of studying work and learning from it. Well, yeah, you reverse engineer it and stuff, and you kind of like get it in your bloodstream. As long as you're not like stealing, stealing in a way that would be illegal or hacky and lazy. I mean, you're only cheating. Even if you're doing it legally, you're only really cheating yourself. But in terms of like using it as a tool to understand something, great. So he likes to really, really exaggerate the eye sockets a bit, so those are kind of up there. But I'm not going to be deceived by the eyebrows being up. I'm going to lower that. So I'm kind of going through this out of order because I can kind of see where the planes are. This is on. I mean, the point of doing this and memorizing these is to. Let me get my cheat sheet actually, so I can use this to memorize this stuff. All right, there we go. So I've got like the sketch fab of that thing, and also some of the notes I just took next to me, so I can reinforce the planes that I'm trying to observe. So another reason you want to do this is like you can have a little opportunity when you're trying to memorize this of seeing how the planes are altered when someone has a slightly different expression. Get that lower lip there. But have fun with this, like devour this. You can use this to devour cool art. Like get it in your bloodstream, and then when like you do this a bunch, and then when you feel comfortable, try doing a copy study, or try constructing the head rhythms you've been doing draw over memorization on, and try doing drills of it without looking at anything to see how far along you get. Or just do them from photographs without using your cheat sheet to see how much you remember. If you can't see them, then you have to make a decision about where they are. And you might be wrong, but you want to try. If it's a really, really ambiguous piece of reference that you're using, oh, look at that. See what's happening there? The flesh on the neck there is getting kind of squished by that collar that's up there. I'm just going to include... Well, in the course of doing these, you can also just like maybe like, hey, that's kind of neat. Let's include that just for the heck of it. We'll pick up little bits of interesting things doing stuff like these. I'm going to add that for the cap. So his actual head is a little bit under where it connects to the graduation cap. It's kind of slid cockeyed at the side. And of course, there we got this lovely little perspective aligned, very, very flat cube, you know, because you can see a side plane there. Very, very small, but it's there. Let's get the tassels there. I'm going to make the tassels a cylinder because they do have volume. I'm just going to do that just for my own whatever. Alright, let me double check my cheat sheet and see what else I can add in here to alright, so we need this kind of side plane here. Whoops. I think I got my circle back a little far, so it has to be up a little bit more here. More like this. And then I can measure the cheekbone actually like that. And then I did that wrong, so I'll erase that. So maybe that's more like, I think this is more like this kind of. Making little lines here because like it's kind of an indication of the underside of the jaw, just for my own note. Let's see, got that over there, and that goes there. I haven't done the nose yet. Shame. So, whoa. So I messed up a couple things here. Let's get that out of the way so I can see what I have to do here. Alright, so we get this in here for the top part of the nose.
Always connect with the corner of that
Of what?
that line, that pure line you're doing right now.
You mean like the
always connect with that corner?
yeah, the corners of the let me check my reference real quick, actually. Yeah, the corners of the you can look, so you can look at my reference that I did draw over earlier in the blue line. They always connect up like that. Yeah, they always connect up like that. The corners there. Let's see here. It's kind of that triple wedge thing that's happening on the front of the face, and then this is like supposed to be on the side plane, kind of, I think. Or starting to curve into it. And I don't need it, but I'm just going to include maybe some planes here for the eye. The underside of the eyelid is actually a plane, by the way. It's a plane that wraps over the globe of the eye. We'll go over features more in the future, but I just wanted to include it here because I can't resist Let's get a C curve in for the rest of the body. And now I need to do the nose. So we get kind of... Oops, I got really distracted with some details I didn't need there. So this should be more like this. Straight line across. I think that's more like that. I am making some mistakes on this, but let's see if we can fix some of them. Alright, so we get that wedge right there for the top of the nose. This is an up tilt angle, so it's just going to end about there. Then we get the first part of the nose there. A little more down there-ish. I'm just going to use simple shapes for the rest of the nose, for the underside. And that goes to about a little bit near where the tear duct is on either side. When we get more into like the feature construction and stuff, you're going to be seeing like a lot of, including like the underplane and the planes of the eyelids and stuff. That's just a little sketchy, quick hint of that sort of stuff for now. So this is kind of messed up. I'm going to probably move on from this because I'm getting a little bit too caught up in detail on that. Yeah, there's that study. What time is it? It is almost 6:50. So we'll keep at this for maybe about an hour, about under an hour or so, I want to say. But you can follow along with what I'm doing, or you can yoink your own images from the internet. Let's do a Alex Ross now. Let's find a really good one here. Preferably one of his like head turns or something. I like that. There's like these little sketches of the old school superhero character design too. He can do Bruce Timm animation style too when he wants to. I actually really like this Wonder Woman head. I already did that page. Batman is I actually kind of like him because it's simple and clear enough that I could do something with it. So I might do that one. This is a plain and clear head turn. That might work. Yeah, let's do Flash Gordon. The Flash Gordon movie from I forget what year that came out, but Let's see here, Flash. $1980. Wow. Yeah, that film with soundtrack by Queen is quite a lot of fun. It's very campy, campy and silly, but really fun, and has a lot of lovely eye candy in it. Yes, absolutely. You should be. Yeah, I posted reference in chat. You should be. Yeah, I posted a drawover demo I did of one of the Sketchfab things you can use as a cheat sheet. Well, I tried to demonstrate the lines you should be using as best I could. It doesn't have to be perfect as long as you want to kind of use them to the best of your ability to basically create a 3D model, basically. But more or less, like what you're trying to do is like trying to use the simplified SRO head as the basis for what you're doing. And you start with the Loomis head for it, and use a little bit of the observation we did from last week from the skull stuff we did. Yeah, he's kind of asymmetrical a little bit, but we're not too worried about being slightly asymmetrical. Here's what happens when you can kind of loosen up with the face. Like you can start once you kind of understand the planes of the face with kind of polygonal shapes. You can kind of bow them out a bit and add kind of a volume to them and play a little bit looser with them. Like I'm going through basically I'm drawing from what we've been trying to memorize right now and just trying to go with like a kind of a flow for it. Like, okay, I remember this, and I'm not too concerned about messing up, although if I run into a tough patch that I really do feel like I should look at the reference before I can do that. So I'm kind of moving somewhat the pace that you would for like a quick sketch almost, even though this is a draw over. Yep.
How do I get this pattern to work?
The what? What's that?
This pattern
The what?
He wants to know how to get these notifications.
The student role. You mean the schedule? What do you mean by student role? Oh, role. Okay, I'm sorry. I think it meant like a role, like a a roster. No. If you want to get the role, you go into the bot command channel and you type !student.
I can't because the server asked me to verify my phone, but when I do it, it says invalid message.
I don't know how to straighten that out. Maybe contact Costa, who's the server admin. He might be able to know what to do about that. I actually don't know who. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for sending you his way, but I don't know. I don't know what to do for that. So I'm not in charge of the verification for the phone numbers. He might be able to like manually verify yours. Actually, you know what? I can just give you the student role. Here. Where are you? What's your username?
Yep.
All right, I'll just give you the student role for now. If you need any other roles, just DM me. Do you like to play video games?
Yeah, no, I can't.
Do you like to play video games? I'll add you to the gamer and the tabletop gamers if you like that. I'll add you to my student classes too.
And the bot command channel.
Yeah. So I'll add you just for the heck of it, and then let's see. Does movie night have a role? I don't think it does. Oh well. Let me know if you want to be added to any other classes, or you can just DM or you can just let the teacher know that you need to be manually added if you want to enroll them. But I can do that for them if you want me to.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
For now, I'm just interested in these illustration classes.
Mhm.
Since I am
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have more illustration classes in the future.
by the way, that head is kind of thick.
Oh yeah, of course it should be. Yeah, it's Flash Gordon.
He is a space quarterback.
What?
I said he is a space quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. Gordon's alive.
The cheekbone plane has a different shape in this one.
Yeah, a lot of people do. You'll get exposed to different facial types doing these for sure. All right, so I'm gonna do profile one now. So we might wind up repeating this subject next week, depending on how things go. I want to give people plenty of opportunity throughout this week with like workshops and other things to practice memorizing this, because it's not easy, and it's going to take a lot of repetition.
Is ear in the side?
Well, why don't you draw over and find out? For him? I'm just kind of judging it to be there. I'm sort of guessing where the top of his ear is. His nose and his bottom of his ear kind of line up, so.
No, I'm just drawing what I see.
Well, you should draw. Oh, I mean, you can glance at what I'm doing, but you should really be grabbing some images like this. I mean, if you do a search for Alex Ross sketches, you should be able to find stuff like this to draw studies off of.
The only negative stuff about doing this on traditionally, because I don't have a tablet, is that I can't really do that kind of draw over, so I have to.
Well, then then you do a copy study as best you can. I mean, I'm doing the draw over because I'm trying to internalize the steps for it. Maybe I'll try a copy study. Let's see how much of a copy study I can get off of Flash here, for example. Let's fly without the training wheels.
But it is fine if I don't need to draw over. If I just try to
Yes. I mean, the point that you should, at some point, you probably want to do a draw over study just to kind of gauge yourself. But I mean, the goal is, of course, for you to do a copy study breakdown, kind of what I'm doing right now. So I'm just trying to work my way into this. Maybe I can draw over this to kind of cheat sheet it a bit. At least for the angles, anyway. And the goal from this is, from doing this stuff, is to understand it, and you do that by any means. You start off maybe doing a lot of the draw overs that I'm doing, and then you work your way up in confidence to. Whoops. Then you work your way up in confidence to do them freehand with copies, and then eventually from memorization out of your head without even using reference. Something like this, actually, I think. Flash is probably the most high-fiveable pulp action hero, I'd say. Especially in the movie. So you just want to give that dude the biggest high five, you know.
Superheroes, so I am not really rising it up, but I think the designs are really solid and very simple.
This is based on the, I think this one's based on the movie Flash Gordon. The movie, the actor who played him. So it's based on the actor's face. Yeah, of the 1980 movie.
No, that it was the opposite. The whole thing was based on a comic.
Yeah, I forget which came first, but there was like Flash Gordon was like the old Republic serials. Before television, they had serial films that would tell sequential stories, the different episodes each week in movie houses.
I think it actually would have been a radio show.
Possibly. I want to say it started off as a comic first. I'd have to double check that though. And there's been fantastic art done for the Flash Gordon comics over the years. Some of the building designs in them are just wild and really fun and imaginative, even like way ahead of their time, even for back then. You see, when I'm flying blind, I tend to draw way too many lines because I lack confidence. Because this is something I'm not used to drawing.
Yeah, actually has the same problem trying to draw now the head. Like I was doing so many line overs and I noticed that and I got under it myself. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to do it in one thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way that I work, like, I need to kind of, I'm an animator, so, like, I habitually tend to feel things out like this, which is an okay habit for an animator, but not so good for, like, an illustrator. But the way I work, like, after I get my confidence up, then I start pulling way more simplified lines and stuff. So that's why I want to do a lot more of these throughout this week so that I can get to that point. But it's going to be like this, like, let's play the iterative practice game. Like, that's maybe after I do this one, I'll do another one. maybe not from the same head, but the same angle pop, maybe. Yes.
Would you expect the high school? Would you expect a high school student to, if they were copying, you would to be the same?
No. No. Definitely not. Honestly, I would hope that they would not necessarily copy me, but they would try to do what I'm doing in their own studies, like break down the head into simplified planes using that Asaro head I showed. Like, I'm kind of showing how I'm studying, but I'm making mistakes right now. I want you to walk through the process of trying to use those planes to understand what you're drawing. And I want you to make your own mistakes figuring that out. You can.
I asked because high school students want to go to art school.
Yeah. I mean, this will kind of give you a little taste of what you can expect at an art school.
Yeah, I am actually in high school. I want to go to art school at some point. Like, I am really interested in doing this my career, and this is really I mean, these classes are so useful.
Yeah. I mean, start doing this. This head that I'm doing right here. This is like this head. You could literally like spend like the next month or 3 months drawing this over and over again. In fact, I might actually do that, something like that. Like, after we get done with the head drawing track we're on right now, I'll probably just like repeat it again. But I also want to teach it. Also want to teach a figure drawing track alongside it when I do that, because this stuff is worth repeating at any skill level that you're at. And I'll be much better at it next time we go through it too. That's why I'm doing this. I'm teaching. I've said this before here, but the main reason why I'm teaching these classes is so that I can get better. This is what we're doing right here is a glorified study group for all of us. Like, I'm going over study materials, trying to break them down to help other people understand them. But it's stuff that I'm studying that you all could be studying too. Shoot, it's getting really ambiguous down there. Let's get rid of that. Redo that whole area down there. So it goes in there, then out like that. Something like that, I think. Close enough. Actually, when you do this, maybe it would be a good idea to lower opacity, and then, like, the equivalent of this in traditional would probably be like, you take a kneaded eraser. I literally have a kneaded eraser setting here. You rub it down a bit so it's like kind of ghosted. Then you take a sharp charcoal or something and do a darker pass on it, simplifying the lines and stuff like that.
I am drawing one of those heads from nothing, and I am actually surprised that I could.
Yeah. I'll be the judge of how good it is. But
Yeah.
but I mean, like, it gets, you can see, like, when you start to wrap your head around, like, using something like this as a 3D tool, it definitely helps. I would strongly recommend buying. I'm actually going to budget for those Asaro heads when I'm able to. The planar one is really inexpensive, so I might actually budget. Well, no, I probably might not budget for the planar one. I want to go for like the big main one first. I think the $115 one, because I've used that one and studied from that one before, so I still have the muscle memory for it. And I would get somewhat the same value out of that one as I would the planar one. But it would be nice to have both, you know, more study tools to kind of vary things up. I might make that a potential future funding goal for the tip jar, and a sorrow head, which I can use as to photograph for people here. There's actually another tool I have which I'm going to make use of in the future if I can get a stand for it, which is a for the movie Spider-Man 2, they released these giant-sized posable Spider-Man toys, which turn out to be a fantastic study tool for figure drawing. Those things have been actually in use by some art schools for a while now. Like they spray paint them gray and put them on like a little kind of posing stand so they won't fall over, and they put them in different poses. They even have articulated fingers and stuff. They're really detailed, and they have like a much better sense of anatomy to them than most posable artist reference puppets. I would not get one of those like kind of like those art school dummies you normally see with like this kind of like those light bulb shaped heads. Don't get those. Those things are useless. Yeah, those things are useless. They're more like a decoration.
Yeah, you actually told me the same thing with Pulsomaniacs. Like at the end of the day, that's
Yeah, I mean, like if you understand anatomy, you can kind of riff on them, but they would be a bad resource for new artists, I would say, because there's no sense of weight to the poses. They're 3D models.
they're just dummies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have like good 3D models that are well posed and have good dynamic form to them, you could definitely study from them.
What's your opinion on the body controls that keep showing?
Oh, those? Some of them are good. Let me see here. Body. Not. I would say that. You wouldn't want to use them as your only point of reference, but they are. If you are a manga artist, these would be a pretty good reference tool. But only as long as you understand enough about the figure that you can pose out dynamic poses that make sense and have a sense of weight to them and stuff. But I would say that these aren't bad. I've seen them at cons and stuff. That's pretty nice. There's some other ones I've seen that are more realistic, similar to. Yeah, there's one actually. This one's not that far off from the Spider-Man figurine I have, actually. Yeah, this kind of looks like the Spider-Man doll I have. Yeah. And it even has posable fingers. Let's see here. Spider-Man 2 figure. One of the drawing schools that teaches. There he is. Yeah, this guy's really tall, by the way. Really, it's a huge figure. This came out for Spider-Man 2. That's a really tiny version of the same kind of figure that I would not recommend. Giant. He's like almost 2 feet. I have to measure him. I think he's like 1.5 feet or something. I don't think that. Yeah, I think that's him.
I think that was Spider-Man 3 action.
There he is. Yeah, but you can pose out his hands and stuff, and he's got articulated limbs. I want to get like a posing stand for him so I can photograph him. But we'll be using him in the future. If I get a posing stand, I can make poses and photograph him a whole bunch for the class when we get to that phase of our figure drawing. We will be using him in the future. Trying to find maybe some examples from. Oh, here we go. This is someone who is following some of the lessons. Oh, there we go. There is some of the art reference of the Spider-Man figure on one of the 4chan boards. There, let's close that. Yeah, see, they spray painted it gray and photographed it on a posing stand. I don't want to necessarily spray paint mine gray, but I can always like I can always like grayscale the photo or something. But a posing stand would definitely help. Anyway, this isn't too bad of a study. Let's see if there's anything else I can add to this. I probably didn't need that. What I needed was that. And maybe like this. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Yeah. Doing all those drawovers has basically internalized this stuff for me now. So I'm feeling confident about just like doing more of these. I'm going to take a potty break, but I want to get back and do a couple more of these, at least a couple more of these before quitting time. It's been about close to 2 hours now, so we can probably go for another half hour or a little over, in fact. Yeah, I'll be right back.
If I can ask, does anyone know how to turn on notifications for just this channel of the Ethan Becker chat?
There really is not.
Oh, okay. I asked because I have a lot of notifications for like a lot for Discord. Like I have 500 or something unread.
I mean, you can go into each individual server and, customize it to only show you like notifications whenever somebody does like an at or an everyone thing or a specific role.
Okay, thanks.
That's typically what I do anytime I join a Discord server. I immediately mute everything and I only turn on the at here and at everyone commands, because otherwise my thing's just gonna be pinging like crazy.
Oh, yeah, I feel that too.
Alright, I'm back. Alright, let's see. Do I want to do another of that head, or I do want to grab one out? Another one. Probably want to grab another one. Yeah, these turnarounds would be excellent study fodder for future classes and doing full figure. I'll probably be studying from like these this week. me see here. There was a good one here. I'll do Batman. Batman will be fun. How are you all doing?
Trying to figure out why I ain't looking at this too much.
Well, I can. If you post it in chat, I can probably take a look.
Yeah, give me 1 second there.
Are you using the rule of thirds? I got some baked potato chips.
Trying to, yeah.
Alright, let me take a peek. Oh dear, they're getting scrunchy. Yeah. That one's a little more successful, I'd say. Some squishy stuff happening here, like the head sphere is kind of falling out of the face. Yeah, I don't think you're measuring quite right. And that's what's throwing it off a bit. Remember, whatever warping might be going on with that, with the reference on those Sketchfab things, you can correct for that. Just using your general construction abilities. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Shrink that a bit. Actually, I think that's good to draw over. Alright, so first off with this guy, if he was going to have a head, I think you can actually just fix this just by doing this without having to redraw it. Let's bring the head size more in there. Kind of looks like his head is going down, so more like this, and then his ear would be up here. So that's not too bad, actually. Once that fix is made. May even take a bit more off the top there, just to avoid confusion. I know. Let me see here. Katsushiro Otomo, who is also really good to study from because he has very clear faces in his character design. You can find some good stuff here. There we go. There's some Akira model sheets in there too, and some other things. I think that's a style study right there by someone. I don't know if that one's a study, but that one looks like it's from a character from model sheets of a character from Steam Boy. That's cool. Yeah, he has very, very clear heads. So if there's an artist you really want to study heads from in manga and in anime for that matter, Katsushiro Otomo for sure. It's like they are cartoons, but like they more or less obey like the rules of facial construction. So there is there is exaggeration going on there, but it makes sense as a 3D object very, very well. And there's also a sense of humanity and expressiveness to his work that wouldn't hurt to pick up on. Do a quick imitation of an Akira mouth or something. Whoops. Or not. I'll probably hurt myself if I do. But by Akira mouths, I mean stuff like this. You can see a very clearly defined tooth cylinder in there, even on that. And that kind of like outward, the kind of expression there. He includes the tear duct in close-ups. It's kind of neat. He often simplifies it, but he does include like construction of the nose more than most manga artists do. I like to reverse engineer how he draws faces some more sometimes. I mean, it does come down to a lot of observation of real-world faces, but he has a particular style approaches that are really fun and that lend themselves to good dimensional head drawing and design, which would be good to absorb from for sure. The what? The hood of the eye? What do you mean? Talking about the eyelid?
Yeah, the hood of the eyelid, like that secondary line above, like how do you determine like that specific shape?
Well, I'm kind of guessing right now, to be honest. I need to go into more eye construction in the future, but I do have some background a little bit in understanding how the eye is constructed. I'd want to tell you that I need to review my eye construction again so it's fresh in my head. Because I'm mostly just going by muscle memory right now. So that's the thing, you'll run into basically that a lot if you've studied a lot. And you might forget the details of it, but you'll have the muscle memory of it. So I wish I could convey that information to you, but I need to kind of review it before I can. And I need to work onto my eyes in general too, so. But we'll get to that. We're going to be getting to features and stuff in future classes. Let's maybe make this side of the face in shadow. But everything that I'm doing here follows the same rules of those planes that we've been practicing today. I'm just using it to kind of do a cheapo riff on a Katsushiro Otomo face. Here, it's not really working quite for me, but anyway, it was fun. Alright, so this profile one where you made it the jaw a little bit too long. Yeah, this one's kind of jumbled. Let's do some fixes here then. Whoops, that's the eraser tool. Okay. Tried to find the hairline approximately, and you could use that to find your thirds. So the bottom of your nose should have been here. And then the bottom of your chin should have been here. And then there, and top of the ear is about here, bottom of the ear is about the bottom of the nose, so about there. And then for placing the lips, you just use the rule of thirds again. Wait, hang on one second. Just kind of walking through this real quick so I can remember what the rule of thirds is on this right here. I believe it, and don't quote me on this, but the lips, I believe it's first third is like somewhere here about where like the little anchor point in the middle there on the plane of the upper lip is. And bottom lip goes in. You know, I've got looping in my head right now because I looked at that Katsushiro Toma artwork. I've got the Akira soundtrack for like Tetsuo's Superpowers theme of the don, 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 don from that part in the movie. I've just got that looping in my head right now. No, well, not the voices in that part, but the like the part where he like. I think when he's first on his rampage through the hospital or something. I think that's where that first kicks in.
I really like that scene where he started to work with that music.
Yeah. That was a little bit better explained in the comic, by the way. Which they are adapting into a full anime series, apparently.
Was the
I-
manga like 10 volumes long and they just condensed it into a quick?
Well, not really. They actually did a new story. There was a lot of characters that were. Some of them were very similar to how they were handled in the comic, but like characters like Kaneda are just like one character in a very large cast of characters. He was an important character, but he was not. He was almost not even the central character. Still a good movie though. But people have a lot of legit complaints about the there's the guy who did the background designs for that film, the lead background designer guy for that film is actually is actually directing the Dorohedoro CG anime, which I really enjoyed. I don't think its CG is as strong as Beastars, but it's done well. And it's a good adaptation overall, I would say, of Dorohedoro.
Yeah, the manga is actually really good. Like the art is striking.
Yeah, that kind of enthusiastic world, like apeshit world building. I like how the author just keeps like randomly will like go off into cooking recipes and stuff in this like really grotesque body horror manga. And you know that she like, it's a combination of like she genuinely wants to like share these recipes with her fans, and there's also a sick tongue-in-cheek humor, a gallows humor about having such delicious food in a comic full of gross out gore.
It's actually a food network show.
Now I'm just
Here we have some free.
Well, I'm just picturing. I'm picturing the Anne trying to run a cooking show, and it's just everything's mushrooms.
Yeah, I love it. And next we are going to have 6 business cards, as well as 66 business.
So I could probably even add a little bit more to the top of this, actually. Or could I? No, it's pretty close. It's not the best, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, if you really want a good study tool, that $65 a sour head is pretty darn good. I would get it, except I think I want to spring for the regular sour head first. But I definitely would want to have both. They're actually built, by the way, to be mounted on a tripod. So you can put them on like a camera tripod, and like photograph them from any angle with like any kind of lighting you want to set up. Something feels really off about this, and I need to figure out what. I think it's something to do here. So that. Let's flip it and see what's going on here. It's like a little compressed. I think I know what can be done. I normally wouldn't do something like this, but I'm already a good ways into this drawing, so... Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it the non-lazy way. Yeah, how are you guys doing drawing your own studies during this? I'm gonna try to see if I can put together tomorrow a workshop that'll just have a bunch of timed head poses, maybe some of them with some planes to practice from too.
I've been doing a lot of these heads just by imagination. Maybe that's your head at the beginning.
Yeah, you can mix it up. You want to be pretty relentless about practicing them from the head reference, though. I mean, like the Sketchfab model. If you
I was trying to get the sense to do it with the programs.
yeah.
At least it's possible.
Yeah, and I would strongly recommend picking up the physical Sorrow head. It's only $65. Well, if it ships to the U.S. anyway. Can't speak to how it would ship into other countries though. So what I got wrong is this should have been back here more, and that kind of threw off a lot of other measurements, but it's okay. I can kind of triage it and duct tape and glue this back together. What threw me off is I was trying to correct somebody's out of whack drawing. See, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I wasn't being observant. It was somebody else's fault. Totally not my fault. Totally not me not being a sloppy, lazy-eyed, sour excuse for an art instructor. No, that was totally my fault. 100%. But we're here to all practice and learn, myself included, so as long as I recognize the error and fix it, and also I'm showing how you can, something looks off. Let me try flipping it. Oh, well, now it's way more apparent what went wrong. See, that feels a lot better already. Including that. I also got another cheat sheet that's also helping me a little bit too. Yes. We're going to probably do maybe one or two more. Better. The chin's probably out in front a little bit too much though. I want to make sure I get at least one Batman in before the night's over. Yeah, let me see if I could do something about that guy. So what's going wrong with him? I think it's mostly the hair shape. Can you what?
Can I post it at drawing?
Sure.
Okay.
I just drew a whole bunch of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. I think I'm starting to rush this. The one place I'm struggling the most is with the lips. The lips and getting the edge.
Yeah, they're pretty tricky. I mean, you kind of have to really scrutinize them, but as a rule of thumb, like if you look in profile on it, it's doing this kind of.
In profile it's fairly easy because it is kind of a zigzag, but like on the front or like in 3/4, that's where I have the most rest of the form looks kind of okay. Yeah, and then it goes
So it goes like Towards us. Away from us. Towards us. Away from us. Oop. No, I messed up. But that area is tricky for me too, so. So. Away from us. Towards us. Kind of like that. And this is either flat or away from us. Yeah, you can even like localize doing it if you want to wrap your head around it. Let me see if I can fix this head though. Let's get something a little bit that looks a little bit more Otomo-like. I won't fully detail this head up, but I just want to get something constructed started to maybe mess with later. I'd like to see more anime that's Otomo throwback style, to be honest. There's some really good throwback anime stuff made recently, like BNA is an Osamu Tezuka throwback, both in storytelling and in character design. Like BNA is kind of like an over-the-top Osamu Tezuka. Like, if Osamu Tezuka was around today, he'd probably be working with Yoshinari to make stuff. There's that CG anime Lupin the movie coming up. It's not already out. That looks a little better. I want to do more Otomo studies later for sure. Trying to imitate his style and his construction. Yeah. Croco, New Masters Academy, which I think their sale is over, but they're worth signing up for. Steve Houston's videos there are excellent, especially his beginning figure drawing class. We're not doing bodies right now because I'm trying to get everyone to do heads, because you need to have good head drawing in order to do good figure drawing, because you use the head literally to measure the rest of the body. And if you can't get a good proportionate head, you can't get a good proportionate body. All right, where's my Batman?
I don't really use the method that a lot of people teach on the internet, that like measuring the body with heads. I think that's unefficient.
There's more to it than just that. It's you need the There's a lot of stuff that has to do with like proportions of angles of the body. There's also things like the proportions of the features. There's that and how that plays off other things that have to do with the body. Well, there's a little of that in there, but I mean like there's other things like Batman's hand would probably be if he could Batman could probably palm his face like that, and you'd be able to kind of judge how big his hand is just about, for example.
I mean, there are like proportions that I can measure with hands, but with general knowledge. Like for example, like the upper arm. I don't know if that the joint of the arm usually ends nearly the height of the hole in the belly. I don't know how to say it.
The belly button,
Yeah, the stuff like that.
the navel.
I measure with hands because it is slow and efficient. Like if you
Well, you do it a lot. You do it a lot, and it starts to become second nature.
yeah, I just feel it. Like I don't really measure it. I just like get this feeling by drawing.
Well, yeah. Once you start to internalize proportions better, you can make judgment calls. But you have the ability to physically measure them out if something's looking off to you, or if you want to double check how your proportions are going.
Proportions in like legs are usually the same height like the whole body, like the whole upper body. But
Yeah, kind of.
it's beyond proportions.
Anyway, now to work on some Batmans.
For me, the hardest proportions are the face visual ones.
So the angle of his jaw is pretty squared off, so it's not necessarily going to follow the normal kind of that thing. But you can kind of use it a little bit to feel a rhythm for the jaw. Yeah.
When like you can use this method to grasp like proportions because
Yeah.
what they look like this.
Yeah, and also different characters or different people in real life will have sometimes different proportions on their features that aren't exactly 2/3 and things like that. But you use rules like the rule of thirds and things like that to kind of reorient you and measure things. And then of course, once you understand them, you can modify them. Let's see here. Like you don't want to be sloppy with it. You want to like kind of get something in the ballpark and something that's understood. There you go, Batman. Got a big old brow wedge, like almost kind of it's part of his mask, but definitely really exaggerate that. What's cool is you can literally just make his nose end about his nose shape end down where his mask ends. Look at that, isn't that nice? Batman has a little rhythm there, or measurement, something to measure off his face with, to the corner over the cheek. In fact, you can even say it's about here. Awful nice of Batman to do that for us.
Hey Sin, you should get your volume up because I can't really hear you.
Yeah, I hear someone mumbling.
I just learned how to do the
Oh, well, I mean, if you have a question, you want to make yourself heard. Well, you can follow along with what we're doing here. We're doing head construction, and if you know how to construct heads, figures become a lot easier. Well, you master fundamentals, you can do whatever style you want.
I want to ask the space traveler. What do you think about like? I've seen people like I am really new to art, but I have seen people like when they make a mistake, not specifically talking about using, because I have been seen people like when they make a mistake and then I don't know someone critiques them. They say it's my style. Do you think that's a valid response or like it depends?
It really depends, but most of the time that is an excuse. If it's like just like an amateur, okay, if it's just an amateur saying that, then it's probably an excuse. If it's a pro who actually knows their shit and like and they're making like decisions to like make things look wonky here on purpose, then that's another thing. Or they're doing really hyper advanced stuff that you're not quite seeing, that like they're using an abbreviated style that implies that stuff, or does like kind of a really weird stylization of it that looks like it's incorrect, but is actually just stylization. Like, I mean, like you can look at like Robert Valley, for example. I'm going to have to find some stuff from him that isn't nudes. Let's see. But yeah, like, you can see his stuff. And this is not correct by any means. But this is somebody who understands the figure in depth. And understands, like, figure construction really crazily well. So he knows how to stylize things. So that if you try copying the surface of this without understanding what's going on underneath, you're going to have a bad time. Yeah. Yeah, but like on this head sheet for the Tron series he worked on, all of these heads here are based on what we're doing, are based on the same principles of what we're doing right now, except like applied in a really advanced way with a lot of stylization. There's a lot of like two-dimensional stylization stuff going on with these.
Tron Uprising.
Yeah, Tron Uprising.
You got canceled way too soon.
Yeah, it did. I didn't think the story was that good actually, but I think it deserved more. More than it got. It deserved at least. I think it deserved like at least 3 seasons, in my opinion. Its story was kind of paint by numbers, though. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, like you can see, like it's really evident from he knows how to like turn a head in space. In fact, like he did a lot of like figure model turnarounds when he was in art school. It's like he stylizes when it turns. If you see one of these out of context, it looks like he's cheating an awful lot, but that's because you're missing the underlying knowledge that he has, and that's why you have to eat your art meat and potatoes, so you can eventually do stuff like that. That's what I want to work on. I want to eat my art, eat meat and potatoes and veggies. Get art swole so that I can stylize like people like that.
One time when I was a kid and I was trying to like copy Dragon Ball Z style. That yeah, I had a bad time that
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can't really speak to how much like figure drawing background that Akira Toriyama has, but he has like enough of an understanding of like the mannequin puppets he uses, and I think he does like a lot of observation from he was doing observation from kung fu films when he was creating Dragon Ball. I know that for a fact. And he draws a lot of machinery from real life and stuff too. There's like a bunch of sketchbook stuff with that. Him from back in the day.
So just give me an entire sketchbook of just regular machinery, I'll be happy.
Yeah. I mean, not even just that. He like his actual sketchbook stuff that he would do was. But he was always unique for his cartooning style. Highly developed cartooning style, mind you. Draw with your arm. My line quality is actually pretty terrible, but I kind of like try to draw long strokes instead of short ones. If you notice when I'm getting warmed up or I don't quite know what I'm drawing, I'll tend to like draw really kind of, which is a bad habit. But as I get better at what I'm doing, you're going to be seeing me draw a lot simpler. Of course, like, there's productive ways to, be scribbly. Good example of that would be Glenn Keane, for how he approaches animation. Because he's moving these big masses and stuff, he has to kind of feel them out and stuff.
So I took another stab at what you did, kind of just try to emulate some of your technique on that.
Yeah, I'll take a look. You're getting a little chicken neck with that. I think it's an improvement, but now the problem you have with it is chicken neck on the correction that you gave. So literally, there we go. That feels all right. There's a little bit more to the head, maybe. Well, let's try here. Probably build off the head a bit more too. Like,
How many hours of class we still have?
I'm gonna do maybe like one more drawing after this little demo here. Or I could end it pretty soon after this demo, because we've been on for a good while. Actually, we've been on almost 3 hours. So maybe we'll wrap it up at 8:30. I can just go over some additional stuff and questions and other things. So we can kind of take it easy right now. But I'll just like keep, yeah. 5:30 p.m. For me, 5:30 p.m. Except on Saturdays, it's 2:30 Pacific. Monday is the figure and head drawing. Wednesday is concept and character design. Oh, oop! I see you made a mistake here. I think you did anyway. Maybe not. Yeah. You should watch the other videos for the head and figure drawing classes that for the previous weeks that are on my YouTube. So the thing about me is that I am not a professional teacher. I'm hoping to eventually become a professional teacher, I've taken art school, I've taken art classes and stuff, and I know what materials to study. And I'm trying to actually like get better by teaching people. Because it's forcing me to review the materials and kind of review my knowledge in real time. And it's been really rewarding so far. Yeah. When I eventually get good enough at it, I probably might be like doing like paid tutoring or something, or paid classes of some sort. But I do want to maybe do some kind of like live demo class thing for free continually. This would be a good time to plug my tip jar. Let's see. Plug my tip jar at chat again. Yeah, there we are. Oh, looks like I got some new notifications. My roommate Totoro just supported me. That's cool. $30. Holy crap!
He's using Twitch right now. Primary stream.
Yeah. Holy crap, $30. Thanks a lot. I mean, every little bit counts, really, but that was a really substantial donation. Let me just check here real quick. 143% of the goal. Yeah, the spillover money, I'm going to figure out what to do with. There's a bunch of other tech things I'm looking at. And of course, I actually hadn't really thought about it until today, that maybe I want to budget for the Asaro heads or similar kinds of art tools that I could photograph for teaching as teaching tools for the classes, which I would be legally allowed to do, by the way. Yeah, see, look, I'm kind of like simplifying and cartooning it a bit, but this is still based on what I was practicing earlier.
So, like the far eyebrow, like how exactly was just like shift and condense that? Like,
What?
So, like with the eyebrow that's turning away from you, like when you have like the actual
Well,
and it kind of going up against the brow itself, like how are you supposed to work that?
I'd love to tell you, but we need to review features before I can get into that, because there's a bunch of rules associated with how that turns away that can get a little tricky. But I understand it intuitively a little bit. But you can at the very least, from the point of view of how these simplified brows work, you can use these as a guideline to see how they or these simplified forms of the face as a guideline for like how the brow works. And then, like, as long as you kind of know like the general shape of the eyelash or whatever, you can kind of figure out what it's going to be like at different angles or whatever. Walt Stanchfield, who taught at Disney for years, he has some stuff in his book about how the far eye and the far eyebrow is simplified that I might want to look at again. Like in cartoon heads or whatever. Yeah. Oh, it's not necessary. Your sketchbook will, as long as you can hold it steady when you're drawing, should do you just fine for practicing this stuff. Like, all you need, in order to become a master draftsman, all you need is 3 things. Something to draw on, something to draw with, and something to erase with. You have those 3 things, and you can master draftsmanship, and practice any of the stuff that I'm showing here. And I would actually recommend people, even digital artists here, practice this traditionally. I have a sketchbook that I have a non-digital sketchbook that I've been continually drawing in bits and pieces throughout the week lately. And that's fine. You can become a master artist without a computer. And then you'll be really good at drawing. You can adapt to digital drawing once you get a computer.
You can also prevent you from cheating by being able to zoom in constantly.
It's not really cheating, but zooming in is not really cheating, but you need to understand why you need to zoom in on digital drawing. And it mostly has to do, this is a way to compensate for the fact that you can't always pull certain sizes of strokes on the limited drawing space you have compared to traditional. Oh, thank you.
Hello there.
Is that a sub I hear?
I just dropped you a song space on the page.
Oh, thank you. Let me. Oh, I got 2 new subs. I should do some corny shoutouts. Alina Place, thank you very much for the sub.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. KZM137, thank you for the sub. We're probably gonna wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah, I've been seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think the class has been like 3 hours long. Yeah, I have been the 3 hours in the class because I like.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished it. Because I never been such a
Yeah. Also, here's something I started. Here's a sketch that I was working on before class. I'm gonna work on some more tomorrow. That I wanted. The hands are really bad. This is like an initial sketch. This is for a story idea I have, and I'm going to be developing this. I'm going to be developing this more for the concept design class that we're doing on Wednesday. This is just like the initial sketch with some underlay stuff under it, like an earlier version of that character. I'm gonna maybe see if I can break down. I want to develop this guy more because I haven't really defined him yet. But the monster creature, I do kind of have a better idea of. And when I get to him on Wednesday, I want to do like a full turnaround, kind of, maybe, or start one.
If I can ask, how long have you been doing?
Too long compared to what the skill level is that I should be at right now, because I basically had what amounted to a learning disability for years due to an undiagnosed illness up until recently. Basically like every couple months or so, my brain would basically reboot, and I'd like have to like start from zero over and over and over again. And I finally got it properly diagnosed and treated like a few months ago. And I can concentrate fully for the first time in my life. Somehow I was able to stumble through animation school when I was like that, and do decent work in the professional field. But it's basically being quite literally being handicapped for years. Yeah. It wasn't a literal learning disability, but it amounted, like, in terms of how it affected my ability to absorb information and have continuity with what I'm learning and trying to do. It made it impossible. Like yeah, it was really horrible. It would cause depression and anxiety and panic attacks and stuff, and basically reboot me psychologically. Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, in my case, I was wrestling with illness, but in order for artists to do good art, you have to make sure that you are able to take care of yourself and get yourself as good condition as you can, however you can. However, treatment, if you need treatment, if you do have an illness that you're struggling with. For a lot of people, art can be therapeutic for certain kinds of illness too. And I know a lot of artists that struggle with illnesses that were way worse than mine was or is, and they've been able to make way more successful careers for themselves. Not to be envious, but it just shows that it is possible. Even if you have things working against you. Anyway, I'm gonna do one quick draw over of a Batman here real quick. And
Can I ask you why you don't have
channel
channel pages
pages?
for subscribers? Channel pages.
Probably because I haven't set those up.
Yeah. I just
Like,
I just get feedback because this like, hey, we have so many viewers in the channel pages. Yeah.
yeah, I should probably do like maybe this Sunday or something. I should really, or maybe sometime tomorrow. I should probably take some time to do some curation, some like updating to my Twitch stuff. Like I only started using Twitch a few weeks ago.
Channel page. When you subscribe on someone's page, like if you see there is near my name or your name somewhere star, like
Right? Yeah, I literally have not set up my channel page yet. That's why.
yeah. Well, yeah, there is like channel.
Wait, you subscribed to me on YouTube?
And
I don't know where that money's going to go. I'm gonna maybe have to set up my PayPal there. But I mean, yeah, I think I'll be able to get that money. Let me take a look.
well, on YouTube you get money
Yeah, I mean the subscription is a subscription.
from. Yeah.
Let's see if I got a notification bell about it. I have not
And
got
you
it.
get about how much? Oh my god, is it 30% on Twitch or more? I don't really remember. It's about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
New subscriber. Here we go.
I mean, like, you need to watch so much.
All right, I'm gonna take a peek real quick at the paid memberships. Wait, no, that's not what it is. Your channel, customized channel. I'll have to look at it later because I want to make sure that I'm able to receive the money you just generously donated me.
You're gonna receive money every 100 days. Yes.
On YouTube. Oof.
From Twitch, you're gonna
From
receive
Twitch, it's
100
From Twitch, it's 45 days for affiliates. It's supposed to be, but I'm told that it usually winds up being longer.
It takes more time because
Well, it's a PayPal for me, at least for now. So PayPal is usually pretty instant.
I know, I've been on Twitch for 3 years. All this time they've been changing something. I don't really know.
Yeah, I know. I really need to update a lot of stuff on it. I used it like a couple years ago, and then I abandoned it, and now I'm starting to use it again because I'm using it as a teaching tool, and I definitely need to go through and update it because It'd be nice to like have it be a proper Twitch channel, so maybe I could like stream fun things, or I could just like stream like if I'm when I'm further along in like making good illustrations and animation that people actually want to see, which is my goal, of course. Then then more people would want to show up to just hang while I'm working on animation or something, and I could do that to get subs or whatever. What's that?
As I'm saying, we just have to.
Yeah.
There's no easy way.
Yeah, and this is and I'm kind of starting with a little bit with the audience that's this class that attends these classes, because that gives me a viewer count to start with instead of just going live. But I'll figure stuff out. Like I want to figure out what kind of content people would want to see before I do that, and also get a sense of what it really comes down to. Like I want content that I know people would want to see, that would be stuff that I would find really fun to do. Because I don't want to do anything I wouldn't enjoy doing. I enjoy doing these classes, so I'm doing these classes. I'd like to play games for an audience in the future, but I don't know how to make that. I'm not too confident with how I would go about making that entertaining just yet. But I'll think. But if I come up with an idea for that, then I'll try it out.
I guess for streaming games, people mostly like to see the action on your face. So, not that you need webcam for streaming games.
No, I'm not going to use a webcam. What I might use in the future, though, is I might use a face rig, probably with an animated character I've made myself. Which is actually a good way to go about it.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, if you have a good voice and a good mic presence, that can also make up for not having a camera. But I'm not really sold on the only way I would want to do Twitch streams for game streams for people is if it was like really fun for me to do and people responded well to it and people like were responding and showing up to it. I'd want to come up with some kind of thing or an approach that I'd make to it that would be fun. I would ideally want to do it in a way that's like conducive to some kind of art. Like partly what I'm doing is a way to kind of research a little bit about game art. And game art and animation, for example. That'd be really kind of fun, actually. Like, I'd like to approach it from an angle like that. That'd be really and of course there's nothing wrong with just having fun. I mean, if something is fun and entertaining and people show up for it, then I'd be happy to do it. But I'm not really banking on that. It's the art classes and the art stuff that I really am focused on right now. Developing a Twitch gameplay thing would be like a hobby.
it's not wrong, it's just how you want. I'm just saying from my experience on Twitch, which was like that, it was just on the face of the person's place because
Yeah.
see emotions, you know, for people, it's entertaining to see how people react on something. For example, when you first time play some game, they want to see you. They do, like, what reaction you have.
Yeah. Okay, so the homework this week is quite simple. Try to memorize this stuff that we did today. Like memorize from the using the sketch the Sketchfab model of the simplified Desara head and the drawings that I posted in chat. And you can also go back and watch the replay on Twitch or on YouTube of all of this to kind of get a sense of what you're supposed to do. And basically it just comes down to memorization and practice and stuff. Do more of it tomorrow. Do more of it every day of the week if you can. I'm going to be trying to myself because this stuff is going to be hard to memorize. But we're all gonna try. Mind you, this subject right here that we're covering right here, this is something that can take like up to a year to fully kind of wrap your head around. If you're new to it, anyway. So don't feel intimidated if you're having a rough time with it.
Is there class?
What? And we will be repeating this this subject in the future.
Will there be class tomorrow?
No. Oh, well, not for me anyway. I think Nils in the morning she's an animation instructor from the Koblenz Animation School in Paris. She's teaching some beginner animation classes tomorrow morning. She's got a schedule up in the class schedule section in Ethan's Discord. Let me actually check to see the class, if anyone's added anything to the class schedule. Yeah. There's a lot of like first time early artists and stuff. I would say that like you should maybe kind of look at me just as a. You should look at me as a senpai, not as a sensei. I'm more like a class leader. Eventually, I will be a proper sensei, but for now, I'm kind of like a study group leader. And what you should be looking for is you should be looking for much, much better teachers than me. But you can use me as kind of like a way to kind of vibe and study and stuff, and watch as I develop and try to push yourselves too.
You know what? At least I have someone who I can
Yeah.
like pick from.
Well, that and I can point people in the directions of much better teachers than me who you sign up for classes for. I mean, like real paid classes. There's a lot of them that are being done online now because of COVID-19. Here's one of them. Here, I'll put it on the stream.
There was a question in the chat.
These guys.
What games do you play?
Yeah, I strongly recommend these guys, mainly because they're who first taught me how to draw. And I actually want to go back to them at some point when I get some more money. But yeah,
What games do you play?
what games? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever's fun. Whatever I'm into.
Do you have any preferences in games?
I like games. I like games that are chill, but it can be creative, and I also like co-op games. So maybe like games like Astroneer, or in that vein, or games like what's it? Deep Rock Galactic. I'd be into that for streams.
How about Don't Starve Together?
Like what? Don't Starve?
Yeah.
Maybe. I own it, so possibly. Anyway, these guys are really good. I'll link them in chat. They have a new semester coming up that starts August 3rd. And it's a 5-week semester. It's normally 12-week classes for like around 400 or 600 or something. They're doing an online art school thing of $210 per class right now. And if you take 6 classes, you get the 7th free. There's audit pricing also, where it's $50 for audit. You don't get critique. You do not get an instructor critique though. Like full participation classes is what you want. Is what you would want if you are a new artist for sure. And for newer people here, I would recommend. I would ask them first. Like I would get in touch with them first. But what you would want to take, but probably what they might point you in the direction of would be Introduction to the Riley Rhythms. We're actually going to be going over that next week, believe it or not. And maybe like 20-minute head lay-ins. They'd probably want to put you in a longer pose class of some kind. But Yeah, I would get in touch with them if you are serious about enrolling with them, and maybe just give at least one class a tryout for like 1 semester or something for their 5-week semester. If you, I mean, you'll get a huge amount out of it if you take a class if you take a critique class with them, because they go really in depth, and they can help get you off on the right foot of coaching you in what to study and what to practice and stuff. They also have an online school, online drawing instruction tutorials and stuff, which is pretty expensive. $99 a month is pretty freaking expensive, but it's really good stuff. But I strongly recommend them. A lot of what I'm trying to regurgitate for you here is stuff that I've like taken from them before and I've taken notes from. I still have the workbook handouts, and some of it I'm using this cheat sheet stuff from the last time I was subscribed to them. Alright, so. Okay.
Oh yeah, I can get that totally. Like, when I first tried all of these pieces, I was like holding a ruler actually. Yeah, but it's nothing like that. You don't need to hold a ruler. Try to. Yeah, on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like on the stream, it was like simplified pages, like in shapes, right? Using this one. First, yeah, I'm saying when I was first time trying.
Anyway, we're gonna wrap up the stream now. Thank you all for coming, and here's the end credits.